All right. When the most powerful man in Russia starts his workday, he starts it by reading the gossip columns. And of course, this comes after hours of swimming and lifting weights, little light reading of history books on Ivan the Terrible and Peter the Great. Oh, and 2 baths. One has to be hot, one has to be cold. And then and only then is President Vladimir Putin ready to take on his day. All of these fascinating details and more coming from a recent Newsweek article entitled Behind the Scenes in Putin's Court, the Private Habits of a Latter-day Dictator. The article peels back the curtain on Putin's inner circle. So joining me live from London is Ben Judah. He is the writer of this article and author of Fragile Empire, How Russia Fell in and Out of Love with Vladimir Putin. It's a book that is out. Ben, welcome. Nice to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It is incredibly intriguing, all of the minutiae, the behind-the-scenes stuff that you got your hands on, coming from extensive interviews with high-ranking Russian officials down to these personal aides. How did you get them to give it up, to give up the goods on Vladimir Putin?
Well, it's important to say that Putin's incredibly proud of his exercise routine and is incredibly proud of his healthy diet. And Putin thinks, perhaps not incorrectly, that he's the healthiest man in Russia and that people should know what he does. And he's often talked about this. He's very proud of it. He wants people to know about it. And this is something that he wants Russians to hear about. How did I gather this information? I used to work at a think tank called the European Council on Foreign Relations. I did kind of 2 years research there. I wrote a book for Yale University about Putin. And the question that was bugging me is Putin a dictator? The answer to this question I thought I would find by working out how Putin makes decisions. Is there somebody there making decisions with him? Is it alone? So I asked everybody they interviewed for these books and these research projects, which is pretty much anyone that you can interview in Russia, from former prime ministers to current ministers to political aides, PR men, regional governors, translators. So what does he do every day? What's he like to work with? So out of those interviews, this piece. So it's the 2-hour swim session in the morning when he really does his thinking. That's where it all begins. Is that what I'm reading in your piece? That's what
they
say, yeah. It's sort of Putin thinks that people like Obama that spend the night like scanning Twitter and reading the news, or people like David Cameron who are very worried about what's on CNN or what's on the BBC. He thinks they're confusing themselves, and that a leader, the job is strategy, big thinking, direction. And if he's going to make big decisions like should I or should I not annex Crimea, you know, he should take his time and he should swim, think about it clearly. You know, the fate of the nation rests in his hands. He's very, very, very aware of that. And the aides will say that a lot of this thinking takes place in the pool.
Interesting.
He wants to begin the day fresh.
Interesting. So it's the pool, the baths, he loves the late night. You talk about the dress, the black lab, the private hockey matches with his best friends, and then the bodyguards who fill in the rest on the ice. But then you wonder about Putin the man and who he's really close with. And you write this: there are no stories of extravagance, only of loneliness. The president has no family life. His mother is dead. So is his father. His wife suffered nervous disorders, and after a long separation, there has been a divorce. There are 2 daughters, but they are a state secret and no longer live in Russia. There are rumors of models and photographers and gymnasts, but there is a hollow tick to these stories which no courtier can quite explain. So, for the most part, he rolls solo.
People often have been asking me, do you find Putin's life similar to the life of Stalin? And I've got to say no, which is that Stalin was a big drinker. Stalin hosted every week these sort of debauched dinner parties in which the Politburo would be forced to drink a bottle of vodka each, dance, sing. He'd kind of play with them and toy with them as to their ethnic origins. Stalin had a lot of very sad and passionate affairs. And Stalin was very close to his daughter, was often talking about, you know, the war, the revolution with her. Putin, none of this. Putin, debauched dinner parties, not interested in it. Putin, daughters, don't speak to them. Putin, passionate love affairs, not happening. There are people, the Kremlin kind of puts out kind of rumours, maybe there's a model, maybe there's a photographer, but you just don't hear stories from those that are close to him about women. People say he's just not.
The article is rife with details, so I'm just going to put everyone on Newsweek behind the scenes in Putin's court, the private habits of latter-day dictator. Ben Judah, come back, because we will keep talking about Vladimir Putin. I have a feeling for some time to come. Thank you so much.